Hello and welcome to another episode of 3 Minute Game Pass. I'm Nathan and today I am going to tell you whether this Game Pass game is worth your time and bandwidth. Today's game is Cris Tales, the much anticipated RPG with an emphasis on beautiful art and time manipulation. Is Cris Tales a step into the future or does it get bogged down in the past? Let's find out. So Cris Tales is an Xbox and PC release, but there is no cross-save or cross-achievements. They both have a separate list of achievements. It is XS optimized for 60 FPS, 4K, HDR, though I will admit this game does have some technical issues, such as screen tearing, even on that version. The game is also about 20 to 30 hours to complete. So what exactly is Cris Tales? Well, it's a turn-based RPG following the adventures of Crisbel, who gains the ability to see and manipulate both the future and the past. She pairs up with another time mage, a frog in a top hat, and a rotating ragtag group of do-gooders as she tries to figure out why the Empress of Time is such a meanie head. She just isn't very nice. The game involves enemies on either the left or right of you in turn-based battles, and you can change time either backwards or forwards respectively to affect those battles. This lets you do zany things like poison an enemy in the past and then pull them into the present, doing all the poison damage in one big go, or putting water on an iron shield in the present and move them to the future where it rusts. These types of combos are integral to the game's combat. And additionally, as you traverse towns, you get to see how the town will be in the past and the future, and participate in side quests that you can see that actually affecting the town, which is pretty cool. So, all things considered, this is a fairly bog-standard turn-based JRPG, but with its primary combat and storytelling gimmick being that forwards and backwards time manipulation mechanic. So what I like about this game? Well, it's gorgeous. I mean, you've been watching the footage, and I'm not putting giant text over it, but yeah, the animations, the visual style, it's cohesive, it's beautiful. I just love all of it. It just looks so incredible. I also love the mechanics of time in combat, where it lets you set up certain combos and debuffs and then use time to manipulate it. It becomes integral to the game later, and it's just really fun. And lastly, being able to see past and presents in towns does some really great visual storytelling of kind of letting you know what's going to happen in the future and try and figuring out how to solve it. That's really neat. When it comes to bad things, this game is very buggy. Keep in mind, I'm playing this on day one, and it's really buggy, not just on Xbox, but on other consoles. The biggest bug currently being that sometimes text won't progress, and you have to turn your controller off and on for it to continue. Weird bug. There's other technical things like screen tearing. Load times are kind of long for a SSD as optimized game. Generally, just expect some bugs along the way. Combat is also really unbalanced. I like it, but it's so all over the place. It starts off really hard when you don't have healing spells and stuff like that, but once you kind of get some levels, you become just a god. You have so much mana and your regular magic attacks do so much damage. Why would you use any other attacks? And it even gets a bit grindy because you don't make very much money and gear is really expensive. So it's kind of a really weird mixed bag. And lastly, the story and writing just generally I found to be mediocre, and the pacing is just all over the place. At the beginning of the game, you save your village and they immediately start blaming you for it for no reason. There's a scene where a character starts emotionally saying how her brother died in the war, and another character just kind of shrugs it off. It's like, what is happening here? It's very strange, all over the place, and most importantly, the last 10 hours-ish of the game, the last third of the game, it kind of goes completely off the rails with its time travel stuff, and not in a good way. So the story just isn't there. So as you know, I rate games on a 3-point scale. Must play, maybe consider, don't bother. This is definitely a maybe consider. As a piece of visual art, Cris Tales is absolutely stunning. The artistic vision throughout and the animations are just so gorgeous, and the style really resonates. And the time mechanics are also really ingenious. I really like this idea in both gameplay and a story perspective, but unfortunately, what they built off of all these great ideas is just a slightly above average JRPG in terms of story and combat. And it makes Cris Tales kind of a bland, disappointing experience. But that's all I got for you today, and we are over time. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you go out there and enjoy Cris Tales.